welcome. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are. Happy today, and welcome to the show.
With your co-host, Nick.
Yep, I'm your host, Jerry V, or the Crypto Oracle. Nick has been co-hosting now for, I think this is the second episode. And first, we want to thank all of our sponsors. So let's get to that really quickly. I want to thank Quantum Expeditions. Again, these guys are doing exactly what we talked about on the show about a year or so ago, where I said at some point energy companies and Bitcoin mining companies would meet, and eventually those companies would start to become, vice versa, right? Where we're seeing that with TEPCO, right? TEPCO's hooked up their solar field to Bitcoin mining equipment. These guys are doing it with gas in West Texas, and it's an amazing stuff. You should look into it. Our other sponsors are Shieldfolio. If you're not familiar with Shieldfolio, they basically have a seed phrase book. It is pretty amazing stuff. It protects all your seed phrases. You have to have a special light to be looking at it. There is a code right there to get a little discount from Bitcoin Live, and also all the family members at Bitcoin Live, and also Deorganized Media. Thank you so much. Today's show is called Why All Data Needs to Be Encrypted. We're going to get into that in a little bit. First, we're just going to get into some of the basic news. I know I got some tweets pulled up, I think, on my bookmark page on X. Oh, yeah, we can definitely check this one out first. Oops, I'm not on the right share button. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Matty was about to join, but he couldn't make it.
No worries.
You will be on the next one.
Yeah, Matty had some personal stuff. I hope he's doing well. He was sounding good. I was on the spaces with him a little bit ago. He was sounding much better. And again, I hope he's doing well. Yeah, here it is. Let's share that. So if you guys aren't familiar with Carl B. Menger, he's got some really good content. But this is like literally what all the smart people in this space, from Dr. Ross, I think it's Jeffrey Ross. I'm pretty sure. Is that his name, Nick? Are you familiar with that guy? Yeah. So from
turn off my mic.
Yeah. So Dr. Ross, to me, to many people in the space, we can see this is what's happening to everything against Bitcoin. This is literally what is happening. And here you go. So I'm going to pause it. Give me a second. Boom. There it is. Yeah. So this is exactly what we were talking about in the last episode, right? Where if you're taking your house off the market, this is literally on the chart. You can see where we're at, where you should be putting your house back up on the market and selling it for, if it's $1 million home, 10 Bitcoin, right? If it's a 500K home, 5 Bitcoin, and just put that sign out like a real, obviously go to Staples, get it made look real pretty. The person at the counter is going to laugh at you, but in 10 years, you will be like, oh my gosh, this was the smartest move I could ever pull off. And it was so easy, right? Because someone will approach you and say, this is worth my 10 Bitcoin, right? Someone will say, this is worth my 5 Bitcoin. And that's what people don't realize. People are like, nobody spends Bitcoin. that there's a site. You know what? Let's pull up. Let me see if I can pull up that site right now.
But it's painful, right? That's risky, and a lot of people who don't believe in Bitcoin, you know, they think you're insane.
No, it's money. I think it's money dash movers. That's what I forgot. Oh, come on.
But the way you can look at it is if you postpone your home buying, you can actually buy a bigger castle or multiple castles down the line, right?
Oh, say that again. I'm sorry.
I mean, if you postpone your purchase of a house, if you want to buy a house and you wait like 5 years or after this bull run, then you can buy multiple houses or a really big one.
Oh yeah, and again, that's the whole point. Is you're literally taking all of this encrypted capital, right, off of, you know, into your possession, if you're smart, into your own cold storage wallet, whichever form you choose, because there's a whole bunch to choose now, right, from. And you take that Bitcoin in your possession, as soon as it gets anywhere near $1 million, think about that, right? You took in $1 million at that time in capital. Now it's $10 million. You 10x your money with doing literally zero. And obviously there's going to be property companies, right? This is my new theory, right? This is why the Cardones are buying. They want to start scooping up Bitcoin because they're going to start doing this, right? They're going to go to people, approach them for this apartment building, like, we'll give you 75 Bitcoin for this property. And someone will be like, okay, because why wouldn't you? Now you have like very little risk, right? Like people don't realize, having a really nice property that brings you in rent every month in tax-free revenue, yeah, that's genius. But as soon as the pipes break, right? As soon as the roof gets a tree falling into it, right? As soon as the property needs grooming, who's got to pay for that? The landlord, right? So those are liabilities. With Bitcoin, the liability is if you put it in your digital safety deposit box, you're good, right? Yeah. It's better than gold. It's better than dollars. It's better than platinum. It's right. People want to put all these labels. And I said, the only thing I could come close with is like, if you've ever been a Trekkie, like they call it like latinum, right? They still have like this really precious metal. It's like digital latinum, right? That's what I call it. And if you keep the digital latinum locked up in its digital safety deposit box, you're golden. But yeah, I found that page. So let me pull that up. Share this tab, click. But yeah, for people that don't get it, just look at this, okay? This is how much people don't use Bitcoin and Ethereum. Even though, like I said, I'm not as big of a fan. Ethereum moves a lot of money, but it's mostly in stable coins. Let's be real. But for the people that don't say nobody uses Bitcoin, it still moves like $13 billion of money daily, right? Like that's insane, yeah. People. What are you talking about? People are like, nobody uses Bitcoin. Yes, they do. Every day. Here's a chart showing you that. Here's my cursor pointing to it, right? That's a lot of money, right? And Ethereum's moving, like I said, like close to $90 billion. You can see the chart's been taking off recently. Yeah. That's because a lot of the whales out there are scooping up Ethereum and the ETF, as we talked about, I think either 2 episodes ago. A lot of people started investing in the BlackRock ETF, right? Like that's the Ethereum BlackRock ETF is now being like,
yeah, the Wall Street narrative, right? That Ethereum is gonna take off and that there's a shortage, and and basically there's a built-in supply mechanism that it will deflate, right? The amount.
Well, again, that's what they said from the switch from POW to POS, and in the very beginning, we could see this, but they did some update since, and the supply has grown by, I think, by 1 million. So not deflationary, sorry. And that's the problem I have with it. This is why I'm a big Bitcoiner and Litecoiner, because the more I look at, you know.
So what is your take on, because this very bullish narrative is being pushed by Wall Street? My personal take is that this will be sort of the last run for Ethereum, and they're pushing it higher in order to sell their bags, because there are much better competitors out there right now. And
Well,
I think,
again, so the one thing I realize is why all these companies, and this is pretty, you're gonna be like, wow, you're right. Why all these companies are using OP rollups over ZK rollups is because it locks your money up for like 7 to, depending on which network, 7 to 21 days, right? So you can't just unlock your funds like that. And that's why all of these ETH funds are sitting in limbo, waiting to be unlocked, right? So that keeps the money locked in the network. But as it exits, yes, I think a lot of people are going to dump their Ethereum because it's gone up. Like this is the business. Like it's pumped a lot. It's gone from 3,300 back up to almost, I think, new all-time high, 44, 45. This is just the nature of decentralized finance. Yes, people will unlock some of their underlying asset and convert it into stable coins, right? That's why the Ethereum network is huge. And it will remain huge for, I don't know how long. It's like, it could be 10 years, it could be 20, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it will stick around, right? Everything will be interoperable. So, you know, it will be part of a network, or, a carpentry, like a carpet of interblocked blockchains.
Yeah,
right?
again, and this
but
is
it will be much smaller, I think.
Yeah, this is pretty evident. And the one saving grace about Ethereum is it is semi-decentralized versus a centralized bank digital currency. Tether running on Ethereum is a decentralized central bank digital currency, right? And again, it is a big difference. It's a fine line, but it's like, if I send you some Tether on Ethereum, nobody really can stop that unless it's a wallet where they can blacklist you, right? But if it's like a MetaMask to MetaMask, and I send you $100 of Tether, nobody can stop that, right? So that's a big difference between a centralized wallet like in China, where, this is true, right? Like these people wanted to go protest those banks. Like, I think it was like in 2023, and they were like, oh, we'll just flag their passport, or their ID for travel on the train, and we'll flag it to yellow, and then they can't travel. And guess what? Oh, they couldn't go to the protest. This is why you need decentralized identifications, not central digital IDs, decentralized digital IDs. And this is why decentralization is important through like all of these ecosystems, and encryption is at the base of all of that. And that's what today's show is about, is like, why does almost all data need to be encrypted? Because we have all of these devices all over the place, especially in the Western world, and in, especially in China now, and South Korea, Vietnam, all over the globe. There is billions and billions of devices, whether they're your end user communication device like your iPhone or your Samsung, or it's, your Roomba vacuum, if you live in one of the really bougie parts of the world. There's all of these IoT devices that are out there that are sucking up more and more and more and more bandwidth, and they're collecting more and more and more and more and more data. And let's get into that first. I think I pulled up some numbers here. Let me see if I can find them real quick. Yeah. Where is it? Oh yeah, here we go.
Yep.
So yeah, let's just look at this number and everyone's going to poop their pants. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can. I'll go back to the tab. I'll zoom in a little.
It's 323 billion.
Yeah. Did you? You're like, what? Yeah. Read the next line, bro.
With projections to reach 697 billion. 700.
Yes. Okay. So
2034.
yeah. I see your eyes like super wide and your jaw like kind of hitting the floor there. Yeah, so the projections of our data like are getting close to $1 trillion. Do you see any revenue of that? No. Do I? No. That's the first thing. Second thing, the Web 2.0 is a sieve, right? We know this. Where I think I said this in the spaces, and I think I might even said this to you, where now your phone, right, has an NFC chip that will, it doesn't matter if it's Android or iOS, right? It will communicate NFC to NFC directly and share this metadata with it, right? So I was looking at electric Ford trucks, right? And then I was watching Pluto on my Sony Vizio that runs Android, right? And then all of a sudden I see a 30-second ad for a for a Ford Lightning truck. And I was like, what? I was like, wait a second. I was like, oh yeah. And then I was like, So these things leak data all over the place, right? And let's get into like the basics, right? So I think I have a page up here. Like what is encryption? So what is end-to-end encryption? End-to-end encryption, or E2 EE, is a secure communication method that ensures only the sender, the receiver can access data shared from one system device to another. The sending device encrypts data and only the receiving device can decrypt it. Any third party, including a hacker, cannot access this data.
Like WhatsApp.
Exactly, not WhatsApp. As you saw my tweet from the other day, right? Like it's the most, yeah, like again, all of the Zuckware universe that I like to say, it is not secure. He has backdoors and all that stuff. Facts. And I like, as just, you know, a basic junior data scientist and a Python data scientist, I said this for a long time, and literally there an article I shared just the other day said exactly this. What was it? I think it was WhatsApp, Instagram, Messenger, all of these apps. Yeah, not very safe. Let's get to that next line real quick, and then we can jump over. And like I said, we can get into more of what we're talking about. What is encryption at rest? Encryption. Oh, that's what I was trying to say in spaces today. If anybody was in there, encryption at rest or stationary encryption. Encryption at rest is an increasingly common cybersecurity strategy that protects stored data that isn't actively transiting from one device to another. Even if cyber criminals are able to penetrate your other cyber defenses, they wouldn't access encrypted data at rest, which is often their main goal. Any company that stores highly sensitive data, such as PII, PHI, and financial records, should consider encrypting its data at rest. And they go into that. PII is personal identifiable information, and then PHI is protected health information. So this is where what we're getting into. Like all of this data needs to be encrypted and stored securely, right? This is, well, you know, all of, you know, when there's communications for years done through the military, right? This all goes back to World War II, right? With the Germans and Alan Turing trying to crack their machine, right? And they eventually got one from a submarine, blah, blah, blah. If you know the history, we're not going to get into that because that's not what the show is about today. But that all stems from that time frame, and all communications militarily have been encrypted this way for some time, and it's gotten more advanced and more advanced and more advanced. And now, obviously, all of these intelligence communities, from the the CIA, NSA, oh yeah, I'm just going to go alphabet nuts, Mossad, MI6, et cetera, have been using encrypted communications to protect all of our national secrets because they build really cool tools and really cool, devices of destruction, et cetera. And that information's been protected. But now data, as we see, is going to be $1 trillion industry. This information needs to be protected. And the first primary thing that is shifting all of this narrative is the encryption of money, right? Which is Bitcoin, right? And this is why Bitcoin is so damn important, right? We're taking this interesting band-aid that Satoshi built, and it's amazing. And we can, like Quantum Expeditions is doing, right? They can bootstrap it, boom, right onto this methane flare and this methane gas flare. And then they're hooking up turbines, right? And then they're creating Bitcoin, right? So think about that. Now they're securing that energy cryptographically, right? You don't hear about hackers hacking into some Bitcoin mine, do you? know it's an exchange, or it's some type of platform, or an L2 bridge, right? Somehow, the biggest hacks, I think, from 2021 to 2023 were people moving assets from one main layer to an L2, and somebody figured out how to get in the middle, like did this middleman attack and scoop up all these coins. It's never happened where someone's like, unless they actually got the person's physical cold storage seed phrase, did somebody say, oh, I hacked into this cold storage wallet. I think I've seen it done one time, but it was with a ledger that, they literally fixed the protocol since then, and it's never happened since. But yeah, let's get back into types of data and get into that. So we went over personal, well, let's go over the full definitions here. So personally identifiable information. Most organizations have some form of personally identifiable information they keep safe from cyber criminals and rogue nation states, data privacy regulations, PHI. These are basically, your health records with hospitals, etc. But this should be encrypted, right? Let's be very clear. Financial records. The GLBA protects people's non-public, personal, identifiable financial information, or PIFI, from being mishandled by financial institutions. This includes sensitive data like addresses, social security numbers, and income, but also extends to more details like deposit amounts, loan information, and payment history that might enable the identification or validation of personal financial information. Now, we know that this data is not encrypted because more and more hackers are getting into the banking networks, right? Like I've been saying for the last 4 years, once the hackers start to realize it's easier to get into this information and these databases and these systems than it is to actually hack some Bitcoin, they're going to be like, what am I wasting my time? I can just go straight to these banks and siphon dollars, or siphon euros, or siphon whatever the base currency of that national bank is. It's so much easier. And I think it was the BBVA. It's like 1,600 of their banks got hacked in Europe, like 2 summers ago. Like that. Hello.
And there's still more wealth there to hack, right? I mean,
what's that?
There's more wealth there to hack, right? There's a bigger...
at this time there is. All the money is in those markets. I mean, Bitcoin has like roughly 2.1 trillion of capital, which is a ton of money. But if we combine all of those banks globally, or you're talking hundreds of trillions of dollars of capital that can be just gone in the blink of an eye, right? This is another reason money needs to be encrypted and put on these UTXOs, right? Your grid goes down in certain parts of the world for X amount of time. In the US, we have backups and redundancies that protect this. But there's parts of the world where they don't have those systems, right? And if your grid goes down for more than a week or so, potentially there's who knows who owns what, right? If that's on Bitcoin's blockchain, it's still there. It doesn't matter, right? And you can have redundancies for doing transactions, right? Like, let's say the person let's say you go into this retailer in the Congo and he's been, using Lightning and L1 transactions for years, but his systems are down. Well, he can still throw up a QR code to a backup cold storage wallet, and you can do the transaction, right? And he can show you, sent, and you can confirm it like through your mobile, and you're still doing business, right? Like, this is a huge difference between traditional finance and the systems we've been using, where Bitcoin has all these workarounds, right? Like I just said, you can go bootstrap into some solar farm in the middle of nowhere, Zambia, right? And you're making Bitcoin. And people are doing this, right? Globally. And this is phenomenal, and it's just going to grow and grow and grow, right? The big news that I was talking, and what's funny is older customers who were in there. I want to say they were boomers for sure, but they were like close to my dad's age, 70 to 80, right? And as soon as I started talking about Bitcoin, they were like, tell us more, Gerald. Tell us more, Jerry. And I was like, oh yeah, you want to learn about this stuff? I was like, here's my personal number. I was like, I will teach you like what you need to know, because all of these, like his financial advisor, if I use my brain to remember his name, I probably could. I'm not going to do that. But he works at UBS, and he's telling them, no, we can't help you with that. No. And I'm like, he's lying to you, man. He's like, no, he would never lie to me. Oh, bro, he's a financial advisor, bro, for one of the biggest banks in the world. He lies to you all the time, bro. Come on. It's his job. But I told him, like, he's lying to you, because even UBS can buy the ETF now, right? He can buy that IBIT. If you have capital that you want to like move from A to B, tell them buy the IBIT, because that's where most of the money in Wall Street is coming into, right? Like, it's going to outperform, and Fidelity's doing well too. Yeah. And they know more about Bitcoin than I always tell people that Fidelity knows way more about Bitcoin than BlackRock does. But you got to go with numbers. I always tell people IBIT's sucking up lots of money, and so is Fidelity. There's, I think over 15 now of these ETFs. And like I said, by the end of 2030, I think a couple go poof.
And you got company treasuries, right?
Oh yeah. And that's another thing we were talking about in the spaces today, is that all these digital asset treasury companies are propping up from, MicroStrategy building up this massive reserve. It looks like they're going to shoot for 1 million Bitcoin themselves, right? They're already at 600,000 Bitcoin. But let's be very clear. I said this in the spaces. These types of companies have been around for a bunch of years, from Digital Currency Group to Arrington Capital, who hodls XRP, where DCG hodls, Litecoin, Bitcoin, a whole bunch of S coins, right? Like, they're into digital currencies hardcore. That's their bread and butter. If you look at their portfolio, like every company that they've invested into is into crypto, right? But yeah, this is the future. This is what we've been talking about for about, I think, 6 months now, where traditional finance is getting out of, we just saw those charts. They're getting out of property. They're getting out of gold. They're getting out of equities and the bond markets. And the president is leading that front. He's investing into Ethereum and S coins and all this stuff So, and he's not the first, right? Michael Saylor was the first to get into Bitcoin. And then we had Elon, but then we had all these billionaires. If you've ever watched Shark Tank, almost all of those billionaires on Shark Tank, I've said this for years, they own Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some S coins. Now we see, what's his name? Mr. They got the bald guy. I totally forgot his name.
Kevin something.
Yeah,
right?
Kevin something. He's like, Bitcoin's the only one. And he's kind of right. He's starting to realize, you know, proof of work is where it's at, right? You need to have that incentivization and that cryptography. You know, most of these networks do use cryptography. And that's why, you know, that's why I'm so bullish on the space, is that you have to have your financial institutions encrypted, right? Like we have to have these networks encrypted, or nobody will have any money in the future, right? Because the hackers will just be like, which they've been doing for the last 5 years, right? If you look at charts of cybercrime before the pandemic, we're going this way. As soon as the pandemic came, they're off the charts, right? We just talked about this. I was going to try and pull that, see if I can pull that up. Give me 1 second. 1,600 banks hacked in Europe. 1,600 banks hacked in Europe.
And didn't you have also a theory of why the hackers are getting more advanced?
Yeah. So the one thing. Oh wow. So we've never talked about this. Okay. This is you just opened up a can of worms / big. Yeah. So, oh my gosh. Okay. So let's see. I gotta look something else up.
And in that sense, you can say Bitcoin was preordained, right? If we didn't have Bitcoin and we were where we are now, we would be totally screwed.
Hold on. I'm trying to, you just literally open up this huge ball of wax. I think oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Because I just wanted to make sure I just had my ducks in a row before I started commenting. So I want to say it was like during Snowden's time working for and he didn't put this information out there. I'm kind of guesstimating. I want to say it was like 2011 or 2012. I'm not 100% sure. Let's go. You know what? I think I did find Wikipedia, but you can't really trust everything off Wikipedia. Okay, here it is. This one's way better. Here we go. So I'll just we'll talk about it for a second and then I'll pull it up. So I think it was 2011. No one's really sure because I did research on this like maybe about a year or so ago when this tool was created, but it's called Eternal Blue. And it was created, they believe, by the CIA or NSA. And it literally, if it's a window operating system, it just pokes holes through it left and right. And it gives you like God mode to that network, platform, application, etc. So if it was built on Microsoft OS, it's like, no, it's ours. We can get in there. We can go wherever we want. And unfortunately, in 2018, it got out. Oopsies. And the hackers got a hold of this. And okay, so this Russian hacking team here, I think it is over here.
What did you say it was called? Windows Blue? Or?
Eternal Blue.
Eternal Blue.
Yeah. So here we go. Elite NSA spy tool that hacked the world. And this was written 2018. So an elite Russian hacking team. And of course, I can't read the rest, but we'll just get some of the gist of it. Elite Russian hacking team, historic ransomware attack, an espionage group in the Middle East, and countless small-time cryptojackers all have one thing common. Through their methods and objectives vary, they all lean on this leaked NSA hacking tool called Eternal Blue to infiltrate target computers and spread malware across networks. And this is what has led to the this spike in cybercrime activity. Is this tool makes like these dummies that can't really do anything. But before would like call you and be like, hey, when is your birthday? And it's like, not to make fun of anybody, but you know, to now they can just get into your computer, right? Put some malware in there. And like the people that I finally figured out who did what they did, right? Like we're not going to talk about like names or anything here, but and the reason I figured it out, there you go, was because like when we were doing this interview, when my account got compromised, my X account got compromised, they did this to somebody else on X. And then I realized, oh, I couldn't message them. So they did this impersonating that person. And I went to their Telegram group. And then when I did the interview with them, I noticed like nobody else in the, I think it was like Microsoft Teams or whatever it was, everyone else like was like muted, right? Their visuals were all muted except mine, right? And I'm like, huh? And then the last question they asked me, and this was funny, and this is true, by the way. They're like, so what's one like thing of like cybersecurity advice since you're so well versed in cybersecurity? And they already know that they kind of compromised me, right? And they're trying to poke at me, and I had just figured it out, right? And I was like, oh, one thing is that, yeah, I don't keep any money on this computer. And they're like, just dead silence. And I was like, yeah, so like I any wallets on here is like, and I didn't even say that. I just was like, there's like nothing in them. And there isn't, right? Like I keep no money on this computer for obvious reasons. It's like I air gap like all my stuff. Like I've been doing that for years, right? Like this, like I have a TikTok account. No, that device doesn't touch any of my other devices, right? Like it's an old device that it's air gapped from the mobile network, right? So it's like protected from that. They're always like, hey, do you want to add a phone number? I'm like, no, TikTok, no thanks.
So Gerald, can you tell the public what you can do with Eternal Blue? Like what does
yeah. So basically, so perfect example. They can with this program, they can inject like any type of spyware into your phone, into your laptop, into your tablet, and it can just sit there for months and collect data. And let's say you're typing in a password, like they can easily unscrub your password because some of these mobile, little scrubbers that put up like the little hidden thing, it's delayed by like a nanosecond. So if they're watching it, all they got to do is like be recording it and then play it back at like a super slow speed. They got your password.
Wow.
Yeah. You see where I'm going? That's why you need 2FA on all your wallets. You need have all your security features turned on. Biometrics. That's why I'm huge on biometrics. I don't know if you heard that guy, Ethereum developer.
But not face biometrics.
Not face
biometrics.
Biometrics. Thumbprint, fingerprint, right? Vein, right? They're going to be doing vein. I know there are certain ATMs in Europe that do vein signatures, right? Like, because that's so unique. But yeah, not facial or retinal scan. Yeah, sure, it's a retinal scan. Yeah, sure it is, Apple. I don't think so. Maybe at some point it becomes that high level of they can do a true retinal scan, but I don't think the cameras on any devices can do that. It's just cost too much money to the amount of detail you'd have to be scanning. When I look at pictures of like mountains that I take through my iPhone, it's like, these don't look great at all, but you can scan the retina of my eye. Okay, sure. Like, come on, man. Like, this is the basic common sense I want people to start implementing into their cybersecurity, right? Like, but yeah, Eternal Blue just pokes holes in like every network, and they can then put malicious packets into your device that can either be spying on you, collecting data on you, etc., mirroring you, right? Like whatever. But yeah, I specifically don't keep any funds on this computer anymore. I emptied all the wallets out like months ago, like years ago. I think it was like last year. I had like a couple of wallets. I think I had some cake in this one BNB wallet. I think it was my MetaMask wallet. But yeah, I got it all off of here because it's like, it's just sitting there waiting. But yeah, getting back to what I was about to say, this Ethereum developer literally had an AI agent link. He clicked on the link and this thing just went in, found the JSON file, found the password, gone. Oh, Ethereum's great. Nope. Are you seeing where I'm going with that? This guy's an Ethereum dev, by the way. Okay. I feel bad for you, bro. I'll say a prayer for you. But yeah, this can't happen with the Litecoin cold storage, Bitcoin in cold storage. This is another thing. Don't keep a ton of money in a hot wallet that you don't want to actually accidentally have disappear, right? I lost a couple of NFTs this way. I've, done boo-boos on Ethereum multiple times. I've made boo-boos on Bitcoin multiple times. So I'm a real smart guy, but we're all human, right? And you learn every time. Like the latest one is I tried to send L2 Ethereum to another L2 Ethereum wallet, thinking I was like doing like a lightning transaction. I was like, wait a second. Oh, you can't do that, dummy. Oops. But we're all human, right? And you learn, right? Like I'll never make that mistake again. But that brings me back to getting into why LitVM, if it works, right? Which I think it's going to work, becomes so important, right? We don't have these silos anymore, like everywhere. It becomes like seamless, right? Like you do want to send, if I wanted to send some L2 Ethereum to your LitVM wallet, right? I should be able to do that. I'm pretty sure, right? Like, hey, bring it up because it's going to implement Bitcoin's operating system with Litecoin's proof of network, which would make it interoperable with all the EVMs out there, right? Which is amazing. Like, because all of that stuff becomes very pain in the butt when you bridge it on and bridge it off. And some of these wallets have made it easy to do, but if you don't know what you're doing, I could have made a much larger mistake, right? I could have like sent a whole Ethereum, right? That way and been like, oh my gosh, I just lost $4,000 because I didn't just do like move it from here, back to here, down to there, back to there. Right? Like literally everyone that's done that knows exactly what I just said with that stupid little finger pointing. But if you don't know, like that's a pain in the butt. Like my friend was like, how do I get my Matic USDT back? Well, I was like, well, you got to move it from the L2 back to the L1, send it back to another L1, then move it back to L2 if you want it back on Matic, right? She was like, ah. I was like, yeah, it's a pain, right? Well, just think if I could send that L2 USDT right to Nick.
Yeah.
Yes, go Phils, baby. Oh my gosh.
I really love this website.
We had a fan bring it up. We had a fan bring it out. I've been, thank you, Lord, for Johan. Like, he's amazing. This guy, literally, he's a closer. He's a real deal closer. If you don't know who Johan Duran is, the guy is amazing. He is 102, 100 to 105 mile an hour four-seamer. So he lets this thing go, and it's coming in at 102 to 103 miles an hour, and then goes up like this, or it comes out of the zone. He's got it like does two. He's got like it, again. I tell people I don't think there's anybody in the MLB that could hit this pitch at all. Like, and he just struck out the guy that has the most home runs in the MLB. His name's I think it's Kyle Riley or Rally, I think, or Cal Rally. But he struck him out, whoosh, 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 with that same pitch 3 times in a row. But yeah, getting back to Litecoin's Omni chain, it makes these silo issues go away, right? I'm pretty sure. Double check my math, because I always tell people I'm not a builder in this space. The Splinker, there it is. I'm not a dev in this space, right? But I do look at code. I know JavaScript. I know Python data science. I love pandas and data sheets. I'm into all that stuff, but I don't build actual applications on Ethereum or on any of these. I'd love to, because that's where the money's at. But I'm pretty sure that we don't have these silo issues, right? We can go L2 to L2, right? And then move it back to L1. Like I could send that base Ethereum and send it to your base wallet, and then you should be able to just bridge it into whatever, right? You should be able to like atomic swap it into Litecoin, atomic swap it into Bitcoin or whatever you want. And if that's the case, then Litecoin's going to start to absorb all this capital. Because I know Decred has built their wallet to do that, which is pretty cool. But if Litecoin does this and it works, because then that would mean, yes, exactly here, like everything works with LitVM, and then we don't have all these silos anymore. We can just L2, and then you can move it to L1 if you want, or you can go buy a base token if you want, right? Like you don't have to bridge it down and then L1 to L1 anymore. It's just everything can be unified with ZK rollups, and then it becomes private and instantaneous, which I believe is the case. And that's, again, it's a game changer. And with Mimblewimble built into a lot of these wallets, that's why Litecoin becomes very important. You can't build payroll on Ethereum. You can't build payroll on Bitcoin, because then everyone can see everyone's address, and everyone, like, even though I don't think everyone's going to sit in the block explorers all day that long, there will be a couple of people that do that, right? Let's just be very clear. Like the hacker types, whether they're black hats, white hats, or just the nerdy data scientists, would want to do that. Right? Like we've all done that. If you know what you're doing with the block explorer, whether it's Etherscan or Bitcoin's block explorer, Sol Explorer, whatever the case, transaction you're looking up, it can be done, right? Where with Mimblewimble, where we're sending like actual Litecoin into this basically side chain, and it's private, right? I could send Nick right now like $100 through this, Cake wallet. Let's use Cake wallet as an example. And he gets it, and he can't say even where it's from. And like, unless I tell him, it would just be like, if I had that address, poof, he's got $100, and it's like somebody gave him $100 in cash and just dropped it in, on his front stoop.
I didn't receive.
And that, yeah, he's like, you can do that, please. But again, literally, it will allow you to do, all of this stuff, right? You could do ordinals. You can do, obviously, there's a thing called LiteScribe, so you can do ordinals on Litecoin. Obviously, you have NFTs. All the NFTs work because all the EVMs work. That means if you got any BNB stuff, all the BNB tokens work. Like, do you get where I'm going? Yeah. Right? Like everything works. That's like 95% of all the money in crypto, right? Is in all those EVMs, Optimism, ZK rollups, ETH L1, Bitcoin, Litecoin, BNB. That's got to be close to $3.2 trillion worth of capital. That if a lot of money starts flowing into this, right? Because it simplifies all of this nonsense, right? Where it's like, oh, I can just I can send whatever I want to this wallet and it works, right? It's like, what? Yeah.
Ease of use.
And it's secure, right? Where optimistic rollups, I know people don't like hearing this, right? That's why it stays locked up. They were going to verify, all these transactions. ZK rollups are private. They're instant. They are Turing complete, I'm pretty sure. And you can't fake the funk, right? You can't put a fake order into the batch and have it go through, because if it does settle, like I said, then it's written and it's treated as such, as long as it meets the smart contracts requirements. Like I said, you could fake an order of bonds or fake an order of tokens. That's what I think might be happening. That's just me speculating. Let me just say that's speculation. To Ethereum supply, that somebody is somehow working into these optimistic batches, small chunks of L1 ETH or they're converting it, and it's not really real L2 asset, and it's getting converted to L1, and they're taking that L1 ETH and they're stacking it, right? Because how does your supply go from this model where as soon as they convert it over, which is a pretty smooth conversion for Ethereum from proof of work to POS, and the supply was dwindling, and then all of a sudden the supply starts doing this over the last 2 years. And it's like, huh? Vitalik, would you like to answer?
So
he doesn't, of course. But that's why do you think he's pushing ZK rollup so hard?
Yeah.
He knows that all this chicanery can happen on OP rollups. Now it's getting harder and harder. And again, the big revelation was they love OP rollups because it locks up the money, right? It delays you from going click, click. Where's my money? Oh, it's got to sit here for a couple of weeks. Sorry. Oh, you didn't know that part. My bad. You didn't know that? No.
You know about the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, right? And it has all these big names, from Microsoft and IBM. And I think BlackRock is probably also on there, or Vanguard, or one of those. But they, like what you said, it's very vulnerable. They must know better. So they'll migrate right to a better chain.
Oh, yeah. Again, so all of this Ethereum that we talked about, it's like hundreds of thousands of ETH are being unlocked as we speak. Yeah. So this is just normal market moves, right? Like people are seeing it's pumping to the moon. Yeah, I want to chop some of that position off. I mean, it's a no-brainer if you're a crypto investor. I did it the last time, Ethereum was close to 4K and some change. I'm not gonna lie, and why wouldn't you? You made if you got a lot of Ethereum, you made a lot of money. But that's what we're seeing right now, and a lot of that capital that's being locked up in these OP, I guess you call them rollouts. A lot of those people are going to be pissed, right? That it's like, oh, why'd I gotta wait? Why'd I gotta wait 3 weeks? Why do I got? In most cases, it's like 7 to 14 days, and depending on the company or the wallet, right, it could be 21 days, right? Because there's the standard lockup period for any staking is like 21, right? And the first time that happens to you, you're like, I'm losing money, dagnabbit, right? Because think about it, you are losing money because now that Ethereum's locked up, assets going down, and you're like, So what are you going to do? The next time you're not going to put it into that L2, or you might not even use that L1 anymore. You might go, well, I want some of that capital back, and I'm going into Bitcoin, right? I'm going into Litecoin because the value, security, and the proposition and the NAV is just way better in these two networks. It just is right now, even though, like I said, it's moving 80-some billion dollars in stable coins. At some point, those stable coins move to a different network. It's happened time and time again, right? Most of these stable coins were on a thing called OmniChain, right? That ran kind of like side chain to Bitcoin, right? And then Tether found Ethereum, right? And then Tether went to Solana and Tron and this network and that network.
It will be XRP.
Yeah, exactly. Like Tether, you can tell, has really no loyalty to the network. So let me just point that out, right? Like there's a lot of Tether that runs on Tron right now. They don't care what network it is. They want to find what? The ease of use for them and their users and low cost proposition to do those transactions. And Tron, as I said, as the underlying asset goes up, oh, they're gas fees start to get bigger and bigger. So we're going to see these same. I saw it on Cardano. I've seen it on Ethereum. I've seen it happen on Tron, right? And we were correct. So these same kind of things happen on these proof of stake networks. And then as soon as like Tron gets near $1, people are like, dag nabbit, the gas fee is so much, right? To do a transaction. And then they're going to do what? I'm going to look for another network where that's compatible with this token still. And yet, I don't know if Tron, wait, I think Tron does run a version of the EVM, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So even Tron will work on this on LitVM, if I'm not mistaken. I double checked my math. But yeah, so everything's going to then move again, like it does. It always does. It finds the cheapest network that has a really low value proposition. And again, the transaction fees on Litecoin are ridiculous. There's people moving like hundreds of millions of dollars on Litecoin, right? Like let's pull up because people think I make this stuff up.
Gerald, I have a question. You know Chainlink and Oracle systems.
Yes,
so,
yes.
They have the same issue, like with encryption and security. How do you see that with the Oracle systems? Because
so repeat the question one more time. Oracle and data and encryption.
Yeah. So you got Chainlink, which is very closely tied to Ethereum, and I think within the Oracle space, Chainlink is by far the biggest player, right? And you have to get the information from the real world on chain, like that's what the Oracle systems do. So they are running into the same issues that you're describing with encryption and all that kind of stuff. So do you have any idea? How is Chainlink also sort of gonna be Litecoin compatible?
Well, that is 100% yes, because if you've ever looked at a Chainlink wallet, it still has a 0x in front of it, right? So if it has a 0x at the beginning of the wallet address, immediately it's an Ethereum virtual machine token, right? So it is some type of ERC20 wallet. And even though I know they run their own consensus algorithm now for their networks, this is just exactly what we're talking about, where these oracles need to be encrypted to protect that data that is shared between these companies. It's literally their bread and butter of their information systems, right? Like this is where we're talking about stationary encryption, right? Where hackers want to get to that data. It's a honeypot. And that's what we're kind of talking about right now, where if this LitVM works, Lou, we're going to go to the park soon, buddy. I know we don't go outside like on show days until sometimes we go before the show starts, but usually we go after, and he hates it. And he starts getting a little whiny. I apologize. But he knows. That's why you're in there, buddy. We're going to the park soon, I promise. But if this works, right, I think I have a video about that on my X page. Give me a sec.
Because those Oracle systems will be super important, right? Because all the blockchains are basically, getting their information to trigger smart contracts, right?
100%.
Corruptible.
Here it is. Boom. Share this tab. Let's go back.
What is the current?
Let's blow it up and start again.
What is the current, breadth of the Omni chain? How big will this chain get?
Any two users with any set of assets should be able to interact with each other regardless of chain. What the internet did was build, deploy once, everyone in the world gets access. But the so-called internet value that we've built over the last 15 years doesn't look even remotely like that. So our goal is to actually make it work that way. As a developer, you come, you build, you deploy to Litecoin, you deploy to LitVM, you deploy wherever it is that you're deploying to. But all of the users on all of the systems that are integrated with BOSS and via BOSS with Bitcoin and all of these other chains become your immediate potential users and are able to interact with each other. And so in that respect, for the first time, crypto will actually start feeling like the internet.
What is the current?
And that's exactly what I think is happening, is that like, and people laughed at me. I said, LTC is the new ETH, right? And that's what I'm trying to convey to people. I'm not joking. Like, it's going to become the Web3, because if this works, then like exactly what we were just talking about, I don't have to unbridge this asset and then send it to you L1 to L1. I should just be able to send it to you however, right? Like, and if that's the case, then all the capital that's in Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Litecoin, like, and anything that's has an EVM or L2 to EVM, to an EVM, all of that money like starts flowing around Litecoin's underlying asset. And if that's the case, that means like all the internet of value can be encrypted on Litecoin's base protocol. And I said that this could be done, right? I said with Bitcoin and Litecoin, right? I've said this multiple times, they can run all of crypto and all the assets. And that's exactly what they're building with LitVM. And it's like, I'm like, yo, and what's funny is I only have like 2 to 5 Ethereum, right? Litecoin at the moment. I had much more, but I got a little S-Coin happy and I had to pay some bills, and you know how that goes. And that's the other thing, is that another thing I really like about Litecoin is if I do need to like make a transfer to a wallet, to an exchange, P2P, doesn't matter. It's only a few minutes and I'm seeing the funds, whether it takes 5 to 6 minutes to confirm. I don't care. They're like, bing, I see them, right? And it's a proof of work network, right? This isn't, I know people use XRP and get all excited. Let us remind you, me and Nick both remind you, XRP has gone down, right? And again, it's not a big deal until you try and use it, right? And when you try and go spend some of your money, like we were just saying, all of this OP Ethereum is locked up. People are like, oh, I want to touch that money right now. And that's what crypto is all about. So anybody that wants to slow that process down, you're just fighting the inevitable, which is, again, that this capital flows to the easiest of use and the lowest transaction fees. We just broke it down to how many times has Tether added a new chain, right?
Well, and I think in the very near future, also the most secure, right? Because right now,
exactly,
it's still not a big issue because the hacks are not like devastating yet. But like you predicted, and I think that prediction will come true, there will be like really gigantic, devastating hacks around the corner.
Oh yeah, and
it's also what the World Economic Forum predicted, right? That there will be like real problems with hacks in the near future.
Well, again, most of these problems that are going to come up in the near future are the L2s, because again, a lot of the money was flowing to these L2s for years now, and like now we're starting to see, like we were just discussing, that this money's flowing out of these L2s and trying getting back to its layer 1 Ethereum, the underlying asset, and to liquidate, right, some of that position. So we're already starting to see the beginnings of this flight to something that's easier to use. But the cool part is that the capital that remains, if this works, they'll be able to plug right in to a LitVM wallet and send stuff to and from it with no problems, right? Whether it's a BNB S-Coin or it's a meme coin on Ethereum's ERC20 network, or an NFT that's, an NFT 1155, or it's your basic ERC20 NFT collection. it'll all be compatible, right? Like that's mind boggling because all that stuff takes up tons of space. And again, it creates all these silos and makes it problematic just to do like, basic things that like we've talked about for many, many moons where, you know, Bitcoin's L1's pretty easy to use now. And so's Litecoin, right? If I wanted to send somebody some Litecoin, it's like, where's your QR code? I scan it, boop, boop, boop. You need $50, boop, they've got it, right? I've done this with the Lightning Network where I've used the what is it? Wallet of Satoshi, I think it's called. And I've sent like 10, $20 to somebody, I think they were in Nigeria or wherever. And they got it like that, right? Like this is the future of finance, and all of this money needs to be secured in these encrypted networks to protect it from all of these holes, from Eternal Blue to all this malware to all this spamware. And Eternal Blue just makes all these hackers like super hackers. That's what it does, right? It makes these people that have like mediocre hacker skills, and they're most of them are social engineers, and now they're like, I can pay for this malware packets, and I have Eternal Blue, and I can just inject these into your tablet, and next thing you know, they're looking at your bank password, right? And they're like,
and then add to that, you know, the explosive growth with AI and the AI tools.
Oh yeah, and again, even though I think there's many awesome use cases for AI, I think from cybersecurity to writing up a business plan to helping edit code, it's not going to take. It's taking up a lot of jobs in the beginning, but that will plateau very quickly. We're already seeing examples what I've been talking about, which is, you know, automation breakdown, right? Where whether it's AI or it's a robot, like they make these boo-boos and they'll keep making it because they're programmed. They don't care, right? So on the low end with robotics, a funny Roomba comes up again. I just heard this story like a month ago on this Christian music channel I listened to. It's so funny because it's on a Christian channel. But he bought his first Roomba, and that night his dog got diarrhea. Uh-oh. So what happened? Oh, that Roomba just went through its map, and it just shoved that diarrhea all over his house from end to end, right? Automation breakdown, right? There's a very good analogy.
Well, shit happens, Gerald.
Literally, bro. Literally. On the high end, right? So this company, and we won't look them up because I don't want to make fun of them. But they were using an AI agent to do code base and help with developing, and it literally erased the whole code base.
But they had a backup, right?
Nope. Yeah. Seriously, like you would think. But yeah, it was like, oopsies. That's what like the agent said. It was like, I'm sorry, I think I made a mistake. Yeah.
We're out of business.
Yeah, we're out of business because our AI screwed us over. Awesome.
Redundancies.
Yeah, we got to have redundancies. I think in cybersecurity, like that's the best thing it's going to come from AI, is that it's going to make it really hard for these hackers just to be sneaking into networks and not be detected. These cyber AI agents that are coming will detect any malicious users in the system, any malicious packets in the system, any spyware, spamware, etc., and it'll be detected and rooted out instantly. And that's my favorite feature of AI coming, is like the systems will be cleaned up. It'll take some time. But as we move into money into these encrypted networks, those networks become safer and safer, right? As Bitcoin, this is why proof of work is so important. As Bitcoin's hash rate goes up, there's more and more computational power backing that network to keep it safe from all of this nonsense that we're dealing with. And Litecoin's hash rate has been doing exactly the same. The only network that's been having trouble recently is Monera's network. Somebody's been doing a 51% attack on it. Unfortunately,
by the way, talking about that, Douglas is going to do a show on Saturday on Monero. It's 3D.
Oh, good. So there you go. Watch Douglas's show. He's probably going to be talking about it a little bit more than we are. But this just shows you why proof of work is important, because again, it's still an open network. If someone wants to try and attack it and do this takeover of the network, if your hash rate isn't high enough and they have enough capital, they can attack it. And Litecoin has been under attack since day one. Bitcoin's been under attack since day one, and they haven't been hacked. Ethereum's a different ball of wax, right? Where you could just click on the wrong link, and if it's a MetaMask wallet, poof, and it's gone. And that doesn't happen as much as it used to, thank gosh.
Maybe
these security features have been enhanced, but if you have the ability to turn on, a thumbprint scanner on your device, do that, right? That's way more secure than a lot of these wallets that, again, if there's a malicious program running in the background and they're just recording everything, at some point you're going to put in a sensitive password, and like the little digital scrubbers, I notice on like bank apps, they're like instant now, which is good. Good job, banking people. But on some of these other features, other wallets and stuff, there's still delay, whether it's your email for Gmail or whatever. Like we were talking earlier, they could use it, just pause it and like write every single character down, and SpaghettiOs. But yeah, that's why don't keep things separate, right? Keep your computer that you use to talk and do Zoom and do maybe emails, separate from devices that you use to keep crypto on and cold storage, etc. But yeah, if you wanted to play this is a great one. This is what I always tell people: go look up the Antonopoulos video on what he says on 51% attacks. It's brilliant, to the point, succinct, and excellent.
Just a quick follow-up on that. Do you have any concerns about a large nation state that has interest in just actively destroying Bitcoin to make their own, super rigs and design chips and just throw hundreds of millions or billions of dollars to intentionally disrupt the blockchain?
Yeah, I don't worry about that at all. This cannot be done with Bitcoin anymore. This is something that can only be done with nascent altcoins. Bitcoin has achieved a level of computing that no single nation state can overthrow it through computation alone. The effort to do so would require a massive covert operation of chip fabrication, then the coordinated assault that would give them dominance over the next block for 10 minutes until we kick those bastards off the network, rework the protocol around them. They would be revealed. They would have lost $1 billion doing this, and all they got to do was one double spend.
Good job.
Now, here's the thing. Long before we get to that point, they figure out that if they just let this stuff run, they can actually get some Bitcoin as a reward, because the incentive structure actually works. And so I'm not worried about that. And a lot of people are watching the blockchain. And as I said before, what are they going to do? So they take over and they fork the blockchain and they go somewhere, right? They've created an alternative blockchain. Great. What are we going to do? Who's going to join the NSA blockchain? Anybody want to jump on FedCoin? So we're all going to stay on the old fork. Difficulty will go down. It will get more profitable for the miners who stayed behind, and we'll carry on with our coin, and they can go mine whatever the hell they want on their alternative blockchain. They achieve nothing. They can't make protocol changes because, as I said, 5 constituencies in consensus, and it would take $1 billion to pull the most ridiculous Keystone Cops failure in history. Plus, this would actually require government that can do IT.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so true. Most of the people that build this stuff for the government is not very tech savvy. They pretend to be, right? All these politicians talk about Bitcoin and blockchain. Yeah, I know it all. No, you don't. Like only a handful like actually have a wallet and know how it uses, right? Like maybe 6 to 10. The rest, it's they own the ETF, right? And if you saw my tweet from the other day, and we'll probably wrap it up on this, some guys like showing a chart of like MSTR going like this. And he's like, Bitcoin just hit a new all-time high. Go, how comes MicroStrategy is going down? Because it's not Bitcoin, bro. It's that simple. You're buying a paper asset that he can print more of. And that's what he's doing, right?
That's quite brilliant, right? And I mean,
again, what he's doing is smart, but again, don't be upset when he can add more shares of MSTR and he can add more bonds and dilute his bond market, whether it's any version of the ones that he has. He can do that. It's his company. But don't be upset when the Bitcoin's going to the moon and your paper equity is going down. It was overvalued at like 4 something, bro. It was overvalued at 440 or whatever it hit was the all-time high. So you're catching the downside of the overvalue of MSTR. That's all that's happening. And it's, again, their only real value is that they hold an F ton of Bitcoin, right? And that's good. That's a good thing. Especially if it's in a multi-sig wallet and they, they've got it on lockdown, then yeah, that's good.
As long as Sailor doesn't have a boating accident,
yeah, exactly. Well, he said his own personal stash, when he dies, it's going to the dust, going with him. I'm like, okay, cool, bro. I probably won't do that. But again, that's the other thing about the network that, I think we might have a show on that in the future, is like Bitcoin actuarials, right? Like people make boo-boos, right? Like we were just talking about making boo-boos with, crypto and blockchain technology, and yeah, you lose the funds. Sorry, I hate to break it to you. But the network, whatever that was, whatever network you lost those funds on, the supply went down. Oh, for sure. It might only been 20, 50, $100, but the supply went down. So that's the other thing about Bitcoin that, I was one of the first analysts to talk about, is like people die and their seed phrase burns up in a fire. If the dude that lost the hard drive, right, he finally gave up, right? Like those are gone. The supply gets smaller. This is the most beautiful thing about these proof of work, limited supply networks, right? Like the supply will ever be decreasing, right? Yeah, protect your seed phrase. Good call. Get one of those. But the supply will always be ever decreasing in a network like Bitcoin, in a network like Litecoin. That's why I'm so bullish on Bitcoin still and so bullish on Litecoin still, because the supply will continue to go down, because these things happen. It's called life. And there's no backup plan for these certain scenarios. Obviously, if do protect your seed phrase, that is good. And I know they're coming out with a fireproof one. Good job, Shieldfolio. Because I was like, I think they are working on that. And Nick was like, yep. So they are working on a fireproof one. That's awesome. But there are companies working on seedless wallets, right? Like BitKey has it's probably some type of like auto key generation that's built into the chip that automatically, builds a automatic encryption key for you to your money. And Kitty, don't know. The cat wants to rub up on the camera. Yeah, don't do that. Sorry. But I think the future is going to go that way, where you get a wallet and it auto generates you this key that's hidden on like a private chip, and it's connected to an NFC chip. And if you need to transfer funds, it's literally like ding ding, and it's getting easier and easier and easier. And
you got some really nice ones.
Oh yeah, for sure. Really nice ones out there. And this is cold storage, right? Like BitKey is a seedless cold storage wallet. I didn't get any money from them. And they're not one of our sponsors, but it's just, that's where I see the future going, because the easier and easier it gets, the more and more users we onboard, right? And like I said, it's still encrypted. It's just going to become like instantaneous, right? Where you activate that wallet, it has like a public key and a private key built into that chip that only you can access with like your thumbprint, right? Like, and that's cool and easy, right? Like that's where we're heading, and we're almost there.
Yeah. You also have these backup wallets, like in case you know something happens to you or something happens to the main wallet, that you can sort of unlock it.
Yeah, and that's one of the features I think they have is like, even if you lose the wallet, there's a way you can transfer the funds to the new wallet. And it's like, whoa, it's like, how do you do that? And even like, even though I know some of these wallets, like we were talking, can be problematic, like there's still easy wallets, hot wallets out there that make this stuff easy. Like, even though I had to move the funds back to L1, you know, it was very easy on my Phantom wallet to just take some Ethereum and move it on the base, right? It was like click, convert, is like swap, done. Obviously they take a fee though, don't like that, but it was super duper to bridge it on and off using like a Phantom wallet, or like a wallet. Like, I'm pretty sure it's pretty easy to do on Base, but MetaMask, that can be a lot more complex for the average user, right? Like doing these things can be a little bit more complicated, where you have to add the chain, right? You have to go in and add BNB's, you know, chain to that OX EVM machine, so it recognizes it. And I don't know if you've ever added another chain to a MetaMask wallet. Yeah, it's not your like intro to crypto kind of conversation you want to have with a newbie, right? Like, you're like, what? They're like, what is this and that?
Medium
but Phantom wallets, like you're done, right? Like that's why I'm throwing it out there. It's a lot more easy.
So, okay, let's end with this question that I got for you. If you see Bitcoin going to 1 million and beyond, where do you see Litecoin going?
Obviously, it all depends on a lot of factors, right? There's always ifs, but Charlie Lee's delivered almost every time he said he was going to do something. He's on board with this LitVM. I'm pretty sure he's heard about it, and he's getting where the smart people are going in the space with this interoperability chain that would be like almost like an L0, even though it's an L2. It would make like everything easy to, like the guy was saying, I forget who he was, but he looked like it was one of the lead devs for LitVM. He was basically saying you could build on whatever and it'll work, right? And it's like, whoa, bro, huh? What are you saying? You're basically building an L2 that'll be compatible with like almost all of these UTXO chains, all of these EVM chains, all of these L2s that the EVMs have been using. Yep. Like, whoa. So that's like Litecoin's becoming the Web3, right? Like I wasn't faking it when I was saying LTC is becoming ETH. It is. It's trying to become the interoperability crypto of all interoperability cryptos. And like I was saying, Charlie Lee's delivered time and time again. He says, you know, if he even gets interested, right? He joined Luxfolio. I don't think he's joined the LitVM's dev team, but I'm sure somebody messaged him and he's like, yeah, let's do this. But I always tell people, without Charlie Lee, there's no $125,000 Bitcoin, right? He and Brian Armstrong literally helped build, you know, Coinbase and build Bitcoin's, all the things that it can do right at the moment. Blue, we're going to go soon. I know, buddy.
It's now at 140.
Yeah, it's 115 right now. I think it hit a year-on-year high a couple weeks ago, like close to 128 or 130. Where can it go if Bitcoin hits 1 million? Obviously, it can easily go to 10 to 100K, no problem. Because again, it's a limited supply crypto. There's 84 million. I'm sure there's already been hundreds of thousands, if not millions, lost because people mined it back in the day, forgot about it. You know, these things happen. But when will that happen? I can't say. I can't put a time frame on it. All I know is that Bitcoin hit a new all-time hash rate of 1.24 zettahash on August 14th. So we are going to see another approach back up to 124, 125. If it breaks through, do we go to 130? Possibly. But the miners aren't going anywhere. Litecoin's hash rate is still relatively high in the petahashes, and that's still like crunching huge amounts of computational power to protect Litecoin's network. And at this point, Litecoin is, a super secure network. That's why it becomes super important to have proof of work. Bitcoin is mega secure. Litecoin is super secure. And both those networks alone, that's why I said for years, they can run the internet of money just themselves. And that's what I think is going to happen.
And on that note, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you again to Nick for co-hosting. I think, like we said, MattySats should be back on the next episode. We'll have all three of us up there on the screen. And thank you to everybody that hung out. Thank you for the other Philly fan that's out there, the Philadelphia Phils fan that chimed in. Yes, Johan Duran is literally superhuman. I've never seen, I think the only person that could hit that splinker is maybe Shohei Ohtani, and that's about it. But I want to thank all of our sponsors, QE, Quantum Expeditions, the Organized Media, Shieldfolio, and the whole team at Bitcoin Live. And I forgot to get in, I technically own a small bag of QE token.
Me too.
Yes, yeah, I was going to work it in. We're not going to talk about it too much this time. Maybe we'll talk about it next episode. But I am, yes, a big fan because Matty's going to burn it. He's already burned 1%. Like, what? You've already burned 1 billion tokens? And he was like, I love you, bro. I love you. So that's my new one. Even like I said, even though I'm not a huge fan of the base protocol, I invest in things that I think are going to give me back returns, right? Sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes it takes 4 or 5 years. But I always tell people I'm usually right on these calls. So I have a decent sized bag and I will be buying dollar cost averaging more into that bag over the next few weeks or months. But once the supply gets below like 70 billion, look out.
Yeah, and quantum economics has the best community ever.
Oh yeah, we do have a large community of fans, writers, journalists, miners, developers all across the globe that have been writing and studying and talking about the space for since I think 2018. So yeah, check us out. I did some writing for them in the past. Obviously, this show is a part of the network. And learn about what we are. Matty's trying to build like the Bloomberg of crypto, and I think we're heading in that direction. We've got the mining, we've got this token now, we've got all kinds of stuff going on, and Matty is a super smart guy, and all these companies are doing well, and they don't hold a bag. That's somebody tried to compare him to Richard Hart. I was like, whoa, bro. Do you know who owns most of Hex and all the Ethereum in Hex? Yeah, his name's Richard Hart. He owns about 70 to 80% of the bag. That's why it's mooned, right? Matty owns like literally only the stuff, only the wrapped ETH that they get in fees. And when he buys some of the token back, he burns it. And then literally sometimes some of it is gifted, but literally like all of it's either burnt and some of it's given away, and that's it. He doesn't hold any. So he can't dump on you like all of these other projects that are on Solana or on Base or on OP, on Optimism. Yeah, there's usually one person that creates the token, and they have always the biggest supply, and they can always dump on you. And yeah, look at all of the creators and writers and analysts and developers and hodlers and people all over the globe that are part of the QE family. So yeah, let's wrap it there. And yeah, go check out the site. It's pretty dang cool. And learn more about what we're doing. Take care.